All right, this is my demonstration on the use of multisim live. This particular version of multisim is available online. The website is just multisim.com and it'll pull this up. Um, if you do not have an account with the National Instruments, you can sign up for one here. If you do, you can log in. If you don't know, you can try your Texas Tech email and see if maybe you at one time signed up, but most likely you'll remember if you did. Um, in this case, it's going to log me in here. And when it logs me in, it's going to bring up all of my past circuits that I've done. So it's going to take it a little while, hopefully not too long. So while I'm doing this, I'll talk a little bit while we're waiting for it to load. Here we go. All right, so here's just the kind of the kind of home page. I have some circuits that I've saved before in the past, and so we'll pull up this one, which is one that I started making. And I'm sorry, the system is super slow, so that's making the video go kind of slow. But we'll pull this one up. You can do this as a new circuit as well. You can see in my particular circuit here, there's a 3-phase Y-connected source. I've input the resistor and inductor for the line and the resistor and inductor for the load. Double click on this 3-phase source. It usually, for whatever reason, this is running super slowly. So I'll tell you what we're going to do. Maybe I need to push open circuit here. I built this the other day. It took me about 5 minutes. On Multisim Live, you do have a limit on the number of components that you can input. And so, in my case, and the Mac is doing some weird things. So in my case, I had plenty. This is the free version. So here's the circuit that I input. You can get details by double clicking. So you can see here that this tells me that Multisim has built a model for me of a 3-phase Y source. So the interesting thing is when I actually drew this circuit, I drew all 3 separate voltage phases, and then when Multisim saved it, it saved it as a 3-phase source. And then you have the ability to change components. Right here, I've input a current meter to measure the current in the neutral wire, just kind of stuck it in there. You can see it's going to give me an instantaneous measurement. It's set to show plots. It's measuring current going from left to right. So this is my Y connected load. This is my Y in the line, and this is my 3-phase. We'll go to the interactive mode. So on the interactive mode, it lets me do a transient model, an AC sweep, or a DC model. We'll go to Grapher. This will actually show you the data that's being run. We can come back to schematic. This arrow here allows you to run a model. It'll simulate, and then we can look at the graph. You can see here it's simulating some current. Look at the magnitude on the current. We're at picoamps here. I'm going to stop the simulation. We're at picoamps here, so we don't have a whole lot of current going on. Is that what we would expect? Probably so in this diagram that I've drawn. So now what I want to do is, let's go back to the schematic. Let's come in here And let's assume that we have some kind of crisis and that this 10 ohm resistor suddenly opens. And so actually, it's not giving me what I want. So let's come over here and let's tell it that's going to be 10,000 ohms. And so what I'm trying to simulate here is that we have a balanced three-phase circuit, and then all of a sudden one of the resistors opens, or some flaw occurs where it suddenly obtains a very, very high value. And so let's rerun the simulation. So we'll reset it. And now, and notice before, okay, I was showing a current of 68 picoamps, which is for all practical purposes 0 because it was balanced. Now we're going to run it again, and let's see what happens. Okay, now you can see, stop the simulation here. Now you can see I've got currents on the order of amps. So what's going on there is as soon as the three-phase load becomes unbalanced, suddenly I have tons of current in the neutral wire here. So part of what I want you to do on your first project is we're going to take a three-phase, on your first little mini project, we're going to take a three-phase circuit starting with balanced circuit, building it in multisim, and then we're going to see what happens as we look at various situations where we unbalance the load, what happens to the current in the neutral wire, as well as what happens to the voltages at the load end, and maybe even look at some of the source voltages as well. So anyway, this is, and the currents in the individual lines. So anyway, this is my little quick and dirty demonstration of the three-phase. I just kind of selected some things. So let's go back and we'll, gosh, how do I get out of here? Every time I use this, it's like I'm having to do it for the first time. I should have a menu here. So let's do a new file. And let's discard those changes. So now what it's going to do is it's going to bring me up a blank simulation screen. So if you wanted to build, I'll show you how I built this circuit. I basically selected sources and I took AC voltage. But you could directly select a three-phase Y source. And I'm sorry, this is my weird thing that's going on right now with my mat. It kind of, okay, so here's my three-phase. It's telling me it's 120 volts RMS, 60 hertz. So this is simulating a household three-phase circuit. It pulls up the instrument, and it's like, if you've ever used PSpice, it's similar to PSpice, only it's a little bit more interactive. So first of all, you can double click on this, and it brings us this menu over here. And so from here, I could change the frequency. I could change the RMS. I could, if I wanted to, insert damping factor. I have some different options for symbols. It'll name things here. I have a menu that shows details. So here's my neutral wire. Here's 1, 2, 3. This is going to default to a positive phase sequence, and I am not sure that I have the option of making it a negative phase sequence in this version. If we go to the information, you can click for information. It's going to take you to some documentation. Basically, three-phase power source. The fourth pin is used as a neutral connection to ground or as a return for unbalanced load. And then it tells you just information about what the item is. So click back on the screen, and that takes me back. So the nice thing about multisim is it does have some built-in defaults. So I can come to my passive loads. I can choose a resistor. I can place that resistor here. And then the nice thing is it does automatically default to creating wires. And you see how you get the little red dot. Also, you can place multiple of these, and you can just keep. If you come here, you can copy this and just keep placing these wherever you want them. And you can rotate if you wish. You can kind of flip left and right, which on a resistor doesn't really matter. Once again, when you go to the dot, it's going to automatically configure the wiring tool. And as soon as you see it turn to the wire, that means you're connected to the dot. And then as you, sorry, it's still doing this weird thing. I've got an issue with my keypad in my computer. And then when you move it and it connects to the other dot, you see the flash there. So we'll do that. I can then choose an inductor. I can place it. I can either place it directly in contact, or I can place it at a distance and put a wire in here. And then I can copy and place here, and copy and place here. And by the way, if you're going to change, it has some default values. If you're going to change your default value, if you're going to change your inductor values, like it's defaulted to a microhenry, if you want to change that, best to do it before you copy and move it, because then you only have to do it once, and then every time you copy and move, that'll work. Okay, I can then connect these. As you see, I'm only putting in I'm just showing you how to construct the circuit here, not real numbers. I can connect these, and then I'll connect it to that, and then I'll connect that to this. Okay, so neutral wire is connected. Most of the time in multisim, you have to put in a ground. Not all the time, but most of the time, if you don't put in a ground point, the system won't run. So we'll just ground the neutral wire. Okay, and so there's my circuit. Now, if you want to make it more visually pleasing, you can drag your wires around just to kind of spread things out. And as you can see, sometimes it just does weird things. So there. Move this up. On the Mac, the escape key, if you've accidentally selected something, the escape key will kind of idiot-proof this for you. I don't know, I do stuff like that a lot. So okay, you can kind of see now that, and it's labeling some nodes here. It's labeling some node points, and then I've got my neutral wire. I've got it grounded. Now you have some measurement capabilities, so you can measure voltage and current, and there are several other, kind of things you can do with this meter measurement. There are switches that you can input. So the best thing really is for you to just play around with this. As you can see, I've got my three-phase circuit here. The interesting thing is what I did originally when I built this circuit. And by the way, you can put two circuits on one schematic. What I did originally when I built this circuit is I just selected three voltage sources. And then I was able, because you can, for each source, you can control the phase. I was able to connect all of the negative terminals together and connect it to a neutral and correctly give the phase information and frequency information. And then what happened was multisim changed it for me to a three phase. So I thought that was kind of interesting that it would do that. But you can select the three phase voltage source directly. Okay, well, I'll stop this little demo here now and let you play with this a little bit, and then we'll talk about it some more after the project is assigned and after your exam.